If you could change the result of one play in Husker football to have the maximum impact, what would it be? Maybe one for good impact and one for bad impact. Jack, you can change one play in the history of Husker football for maximum impact. It could be for maximum groin kick, or could it be for maximum groin pleasure? What's the one play that what's the one play that you are pleasure. What's the one play that you are changing?
Man,
that have two responses already, and both of them are the same. Huss, 1 second.
I have so many that I think
1 second at Texas, 2009.
Yeah, that's there's a ton of them that you could pick. It's hard to pick between them, but it is fun to think of the Okay, well, let's start with that one. The implications, right? So they win the conference that year.
Well, I have a hot take about this one, Jack.
Does it really change that much though?
Okay, here's my hot take. If they win, are they in the Big Ten? There's a part of me that thinks if they do not lose to Texas, that like the whole next offseason was a lot of it about sticking it to Texas. I really believe that in my heart of hearts, that a large portion of Nebraska leaving the conference was because of that game, and that kind of kick-started, we got to get out of this conference from Nebraska people.
Yeah. So by that argument, it could be. But let's say they win that game. Let's set that aside for a moment, because I don't think you make a bad point with that. But let's set that aside. They went 10-4 the next year, right? They were really solid next year. How much is 2010 changed or made better by them winning the Big 12 championship the year before, right? How much of a different trajectory does that really send the program on?
Well, I mean, it depends on if you believe that getting over the hump one year can allow you to play looser or be better as a program the next year. Because the 2010 team had a lot of pressure of now they got to be the one to win the conference title for the first time.
But they played well. I mean, they had
1999.
They definitely didn't stunt. You wouldn't say the 2010 team stunted the program's progress or anything like that. They got to the Big 12 championship, right? They were 10-4.
Yeah, but that was you don't think that was a disappointing season to have 4 losses that year? That was the most talented roster top to bottom that Bo ever had.
Man,
but they still lost 4 games. That season was disappointing at the end.
I guess Bo might not have been such a crazy, because that's part of why they lost.
Or maybe he actually leans into his craziness because he has more power.
Because listen to the conference title. You look at the games they lost the Texas game. Bo had an incident during that game. They lost the Texas A&M game. Bo went berserk during that game, right? Yeah. And then they lose the Oklahoma game, where they're up 17-0, and then a bowl game nobody cared about at that point. So it wasn't. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to look at that season. I definitely don't look. I feel like you're harsher on looking at that season than I am.
Dude,
I feel like
they started in the top 10. They got to number 5, and they still lost. Jack, they started 5-0 and then went.
But they had 2 regular season losses, and they were man, and all of it. In retrospect, it feels like it was so much just about Bo losing control during that year.
Yeah, because he did.
Yeah. Yes.
Dude, he confronted a fan in the basement of the Cornhusker Hotel on the morning of the Texas game. That season is so disappointing.
And the A&M game was Taylor Martinez freak out on the sideline on his phone. Bo and Carl going after the cameraman
guy
after the game. Those are the 2 regular season losses.
Yeah, Harvey Perlman had to give a statement
came on my show with John and me the Monday after.
Did he really?
Talk about it. Yeah.
Holy shit, I didn't know that. God, that's amazing.
Oh, he used to come on all the time and just tell us all kinds of stuff. That's a thing that's sort of forgotten about our show is Perlman would come on and talk constantly about the Big Ten. He would give us so much good stuff. It's why I still have a soft spot in my heart for him.
Look at you, Jack Mitchell here for Harvey Perlman.
Yeah, he talked to us he talked to John and I for a half hour on the field before that 2010 Big 12 championship game and told us a whole bunch of, he gave us a whole bunch of stuff at that point.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do an unrecorded podcast.
Yeah, I'd have to remember it. Bishop might remember it better than I do, but yeah.
Mo says, them leaving certainly changed the awful refereeing that occurred in their last Big 12 game at A&M.
Right. Oh, my gosh. And they got that taken away from them, too.
DW says, I'd like to change my choice. So we spent a few minutes on the 2009 Texas
what's another
game.
one?
DW says, Florida State Orange Bowl. That's another natty. Yeah, if you want to talk about, what is the difference between a literal championship and not a championship? Because, another one that people would say is, 99 Texas because they win the natty. Maybe they win the natty. They'd still have to beat Florida State. I think they would have in 1999. But if you change the Florida State Orange Bowl following the 1993 season,
make the field goal.
They literally win the national championship because that was the national championship game.
Yeah.
How much does that change? I mean, this is such a weird thing to say. Does it change? How much does it change the 90s? Like, I've always argued, Jack, that they don't win in 94 if they win it in 93 because the motivation isn't there. And
yeah, I wonder about that.
Let's say that they have the exact same season. You could very much make the argument that the voters actually vote for Penn State because then Joe Paterno is the more sympathetic figure versus Tom Osborne being the more sympathetic figure following the bowl games.
Yeah. No, I think I think all of those are legit. Those are all legit. It's really hard. Those are just sort of like off the field motivational, like perception things. They don't really put Nebraska in a different spot because of the outcome of the game and where obviously they'd have another title, but the trajectory ended up being what it was in 94, 95, 97. It almost feels like it couldn't be any better. It couldn't make things better in some ways. You know what I mean? How much 100%. Better could have gotten?